Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
For Truth Show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and it's a pleasure to welcome you back again. Many of you have been asking, how do I avail myself of all the previous episodes? It's very simple. Go to a Time for Truth show on YouTube. So YouTube, a Time for Truth show. Click the subscribe button. We'd love to have you as one of our members, our viewers. There's no charge. And the purpose is we all achieve truth in our lives, a truth in the future, and work together and collaborate. The truth of humanity. And tonight we're going to go over a very important topic which has to do with our livelihood, our ability to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, take care of our bills, to leave our anxieties behind and to live with serenity, with calmness, with pride, with confidence. And we'll put up some pictures for you immediately up on the screen so that you can see the topic that we're going to discuss. Let's put them up, engineer. Here we go. And we're going to talk about business. Because business is our method of feeling happy, of having pride, and of moving forward in our lives and resolving what needs to be resolved. Because without business, we have difficulties. And so let's take a look at some very important statistics. Because business needs a certain planning. And it seems like sometimes it takes brilliance. But is it really brilliance or is it organizational technology? Isn't the difference between a stress company and a scalable, predictable, high-performance enterprise just a difference in its administrative clarity? Let's take a look at the data in the last few years in the United States in terms of bankruptcy filings in 2024, which were about 23,000. And this was a 22.1% increase in comparison to the previous year. And then if we go on to the following year, which is 2025, we see it rise to almost 25,000 of bankruptcies and an 11% increase versus 2024. And then in early 2026, in this beginning of this year, something very, very distressing is bankruptcy filings jumping to over 76% in comparison to the previous year. The amount of insolvency and pressure is tremendous that we're witnessing this year. Let's take a look at business failures in the United States. How many occur? Well, In the first year, 20% of businesses that are started fail. In the second year, 30%. Within 5 years, half of the businesses that are started will have failed. And an astounding 65% will have failed within 10 years. If we look at large retail and restaurant closures, such as Macy's, Starbucks, Dollar Tree, Papa John's, and others, have continued to rise in recent years, with thousands of outlets closing across our country. Why? Because of insufficient capital, because of cash flow shortages, because of poor management, or business planning, or high debt entailed. Sector-specific challenges in the retail and restaurants show that the pressures of inflation, high interest rates, and supply expenses, stresses have increased. And we notice that all businesses have experienced the same pressure, but some succeed and some don't. All businesses need more customers. We need more demand for our product. We want to have more transactions occurring. We want to be able to have the adequate amount of employees and reimburse them so that they're happy with their position. And when complexity increases faster than we can organize and structure, unfortunately, quality drops. And leadership and executive becomes overburdened, stressed. His enthusiasm drops, and it's very important the executive have that vision, have that empathy with his workers, with his company, because really the vision came from that leader. But when his own energy drops, morale begins to fracture. And when his fractures, it's just a small matter of time before his team, his employees follow likewise. So the central theme we have here is that growing without some kind of organization, even though it may seem exciting and like pioneer, becomes exhausting and is really not maintainable. The companies that endure are not just that they were innovative or they were lucky. No. They organize well. So let's talk about that, because that's the purpose of our program. Let's take a look at the first point that is so vital, and that would be how to get to that ideal scene that you see on the screen here. How to take your business to that portion, and not using old ideas or methodologies that have really not succeeded, but using something that's going to lead you to success. So obviously, your employees, your staff, your team, their emotional level is supremely important. Because hiring based just on resume, on credentials, and technical ability is not really the entire scene. Long-term success depends on far more than that. Far more than that paper qualification or some referral from some other previous employer. In any business, whether technology, retail, healthcare, as I am involved in, my own practice being a dental implant practice, you need to have employees and people who have a high emotional level. Because with that high emotional level comes the attendant responsibility level, which go hand in hand. And that responsibility level leads to an employee who will elevate and help you elevate the energy of your business. Whereas you have others who are low on that scale, and here's the scale in front of you here on the screen, which is called the emotional tone scale. And you can find this from innovator, engineer, and humanitarian Ron Hubbard. And he studied these emotional levels and he quantified it to make it very simple for us to understand how to choose our friends and employees wisely. You see that scale goes from enthusiasm at the top, which is labeled 4, down to apathy, which is very close to 0. 0 being really death. And so certain people tend to be like vampire personalities and drain the company. You've probably experienced them in your lives. As they drain the company, it's like draining blood from a person, which is what the vampire does. And it dies. The person dies, or the entity dies, the business dies. And so the tremendous importance of who you hire. Where are they on this tone scale that you see on the screen? There's a median of 2.0, which is antagonism. And you want to try and hire people above 2.0. People who will be bored, which is 2.5. Or conservative, which is even better, which is 3.0. Or someone who has strong interests, which is 3.3. Or maybe even higher, and they're cheerful. Even though you don't see it on the graph, that would be 3.5. Because those personalities, those responsible human beings, when they see a problem, will fix it. Will speak to you about it. You won't find out days later after you've lost a few employees, or after you've lost a very important contract, or after you're wondering why such a great program didn't work, and you see that none of it was actually ever implemented, but supposedly it was, and nobody knows why. You probably now have been surrounded by too many of the low vampire personality type of negative people, which are below 2.0. What's below 2.0? Anger at 1.5. Fear at 1.0. Grief, which is even worse. Now you're crying over your losses. The impending doom and loss of your business is going to occur. And then you go into apathy. And now you just resign yourself and you're going to sell your business. You're going to turn over your practice to another doctor. You have to retire. You know, there's no use in carrying on. So it's very important to see who you're hiring and to hire people that are going to help you with improvements. They're going to help you with energy level when you need energy level. In my practice, it's who I look for because they help my patients to feel better and help as a whole unit to raise the energy level. It's very important to note that the Surgeon General of our country scientifically has woken our country up to the fact that social interaction is supremely important, not only for mental and emotional health, but for physical health. And so why is this important? Because if we have people in our offices who are a high emotional level, give us good social interaction, we're going to be healthier. Our patients will be healthier. This used to be a philosophy, but I refer you to look at Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, and his statement on the epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the country, and it's causing early death, dementia, cardiovascular disease, aside from anxiety and depression. Very important. Check this out because it correlates totally with what I'm talking to you about here with emotional levels, and you should seek to have in your business. Very, very important. In a software company, let's say, This would appear when one developer or one employee waits for perfect instructions because they don't want any responsibility because you're making the work too hard, while another one is proactive and actually starts working and gives you solutions that they found in a program that you can buy at a very reasonable rate, even though in terms of their technical competence they seem the same, there was no comparison. One was your ally. The other one was really not. The other thing very important to note is that above 2.0, aside from being a positive person, they tend to go toward honesty, integrity, loyalty. Below 2.0, you're going to get dishonesty, lack of loyalty, going off at the least moment that you need it. When you had no one in the practice or no one in your business and now they're gone. They didn't like it and they worked too hard. You didn't treat them well. You're rough or you're a mean person. They tend to make you feel very uncomfortable and validated and in general not very happy. And that leads to business failure. It's a very important topic and I wanted to make sure that we covered it sufficiently. If you need more, you can find out more about this emotional tone scale online. And it's an amazing discovery that Mr. Hubbard left us. So, high production people are what we want to hire. High responsibility. They multiply our ability. They make you look good. Low production people consume your business, consume your energy, and don't exchange. And the tone of your team will determine the ceiling that you can reach. Because it takes a team to win a Super Bowl, to win a World Series, to have a good family. Skill can be upgraded. But you have to really note if you have somebody willing or somebody who is unwilling. Do you have someone who really cares or someone who is really shiftless and will hide from you? The higher the tone level of your organization, the more critical it will be that you have these people on your team. Now, assuming now you've hired these high emotional level human beings, these responsible human beings, now you start taking off and you go, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I am just so busy. So you've gone beyond hiring people. Now you have to have a structure, an infrastructure. There has to be an organization. Because when you begin to succeed and the volume starts to increase rapidly, as it can do in a dental center like mine, even though that means more new patients, more consultations, more surgery, or more products sold, or more organic chocolate sold at some supermarket, organic store, or more shirts, whatever the product is that you're selling, you need to be organized for it so it doesn't cause chaos in the business. Not all chaos comes from low emotional tone workers or people. Some of it occurs when we're not organized, and then we're looking, very interestingly enough, at the tone level of the organization, because the organization is something that the leader needs to take responsibility for. The leader is the one who has to put in the structure, who has to put in the positions. And in a technology company, it could mean that we're selling more, we're getting more users, and we're going to have more updates to our product. We're going to have more movement in customer traffic. And the problem is that we need to handle that structural pressure, because if we keep growing without that structure, chaos will ensue. And that's why it's so important that every role and position in your organization have a defined product that they're in control and charge of, that they produce and hand to the next person down the line. And that each one has a measurable statistic so you can see what that person is doing. Because otherwise you get an end result, but you won't know where improvements could be made in that organization. Every position in that organization must answer two questions. What is it that they're producing, and how much of it are they producing? In a practice such as mine, which is an implant surgical practice, the treatment coordinator would be in charge of accepted treatment plans. Then all those patients that came in the door because the promotional public relations person that does such a wonderful job were handled properly and gotten into treatment, which is now in the production division. And her statistic would be the fact that the people accepted care. In a marketing firm, an account manager would produce retained and satisfied clients. And their statistic would be the retention rate of those clients. In logistics, a manager would produce on-time deliveries. That would be production. The delivery of the product that was created, it would be part of the production, is delivering it to the people, and measured by the accuracy of the fulfillment and the amount of product delivered adequately, efficiently, and to satisfaction of the customer. And when the roles are defined by production and by each one having a hand in that in sequence, it becomes like an assembly line that's manageable. Because if it's vague, then what starts happening is the growth starts becoming emotional because there's stress. And the leader or the executive can start hearing, "You're working us too hard. We're overwhelmed. There's too much. I feel too busy. I'm stressed out. I need a vacation." And so what happens, the leader can get all this negative feedback when actually you're expanding. But what you did is you failed to organize. And in the background, you see the organization board, which has different divisions, actually 7, executive, personnel, the dissemination division, the treasury division with banking, the production division, where in my dental office that would be fillings, implants made, x-rays taken. The 5th division, which is quality control, which is making sure that the product is adequate, listening to phone calls, looking at results, making sure that you're delivering a high quality product. And the 6th division, which would be the division of getting out into the public and explaining to them our product and what we're producing and why it's beneficial and how it helps them with their lives and how they're going to survive better and feel more confident. And this way, by having this organization, now, when the person comes in the 1st division, which is personnel, they get trained properly to do their jobs, which now allows the organization to start promoting out to the world, and they start getting energy exchange of the patients, let's say in my practice, paying for their treatment, then going to the next division to actually receive that treatment, and that treatment actually being qualified so that it's excellent treatment. The patient is very happy, and then they will go to the next division in 6. They go out and refer their friends and family because they're happy with their product. This really would be in any organization to have this happening. And with this, now we have an organization that can expand, that can take on more flow, and where the employees are in accord, where they're very happy, and where they're actually very proud to be part of this organization, where they feel security, where they want to come in the morning because they can see there's a way of relating to the organizations. Everyone's not doing the same job. There's no competition. It's a team. It's like any team, a football team, a baseball team. The first baseman is not the third baseman, is not the outfielder, is not the coach. Everyone has their different function, and that makes a game. When these functions blur, inefficiency can begin. And when that happens, you have chaos, you have upset, and you have the failure that you see at the beginning that's occurred, and the friction that happens in an organization, and the owner being overloaded and getting upset and thinking of selling or not continuing, the people looking for other jobs. But with proper organization, as you see behind in this organization board, again, this is by a man named Hubbard, and using that organization where each division having their own product and one leading to the other and leading to the other, which is a circle, and using that to have a business that can grow responsibly, efficiently, and with a quality product, with this infrastructure that allows the people in that organization to really understand what they need to do, what needs to happen, and how to keep that business leading down the road to the vision that was the original dream of that owner. The clarity of the organization increases. Their decision speed and stability increases. They seem to know what each other want because the organization is structured. And they're using surveys, which is something I wanted to go over, but before we finish the show, is that they know how to control. They don't start 1 million projects at one time. They go in sequence and they finish what they start with a very important anatomy of control, which is starting only what they can start, changing everything adequately to get a really good product, and then completing that so that you're delivering that product to the people, and so that you're doing that within the organization, so that there's a coherency and you're not just starting 100 different things that become a massive chaos that never deliver and creates tremendous upset with your customers and your employees. And as they're doing that, you would have this tremendous stress. But by organizing, you avoid that stress and it doesn't occur. It's very important. And that the owner realizes that with this organization, with the proper control, with the employees all in unison, that company is going into power. That company is getting tremendous amount of positive feedback. They're getting back good surveys. Your product was great. People are writing reviews online. You're getting 5-star reviews. You survey what they liked about it. You applied that when you changed something slightly in your control, and you got an even better product at the end when you completed it. And that led you to realize that you could start something that was partially integrated and could continue. And so that allowed you to actually continue forward and move even further in that direction. So, as we get to the end of this program, and we have covered the employees, the control, the fact that we need to survey to make sure our product is a necessary and valuable product, that we make sure our customers are happy, that we don't just start uncontrollably going off in all directions at one time. We're very coherent in what we do, and we market what we do, and we deliver a quality product. Now we have a tremendous reputation. And our morale is very, very high. And the company not only goes into power, but it provides a very secure and prosperous place where the employees are happy to come to in the morning because it brings survival to their lives and it brings pride into their lives. And so I hope that what we've gone over with you today has helped you and made you feel that you have a chance, that you'll be one of these 50% of the companies after 5 years that expands. That's not one that ends up, as you see here, with this employee and that employee and the other employee. bothering and harassing the executive and the executive giving up. When you look at life, it's a team effort. Realize that what we've gone over today is something you can apply not only in your businesses, but in any activity that you're involved in, because really life is collaborative. Let's not end up being stressed out like that. Let's end up being happy, and let's utilize what we learned today to move forward in an organized fashion. I hope this has helped you. And if you have any questions, you can email any question, any idea, any request to atimefortruthfoundation at gmail.com. atimefortruthfoundation at gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth Show.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet